In 1967, a young economist named George Akerlof wrote a 13-page article about used cars. He sent it to 3 academic journals. All 3 rejected it. The first said that if the argument were correct, economics would have to be rewritten from scratch. The second said the article was trivial. The third simply didn't publish it. Finally, in 1970, the Quarterly Journal of Economics accepted it. The article was called "The Market for Lemons," because in American slang, a lemon is a car that looks fine but is a mechanical disaster. 31 years later, in 2001, George Akerlof received the Nobel Prize in Economics. For that 13-page article nobody wanted to publish. What did it say? Something deceptively simple. That when the seller knows more than the buyer, the market can destroy itself. So far this season we've seen market failures caused by externalities, public goods, and cooperation problems. Today we reach the 4th great failure, asymmetric information. It's perhaps the most subtle of all. It's not about costs nobody pays or goods nobody can exclude. It's about something more basic. One party in a transaction knows something the other doesn't. And that knowledge gap can make entire markets collapse. Imagine a used car market. There are 2 types of cars, good ones that work perfectly, and bad ones, lemons, with hidden problems. Sellers know perfectly well whether their car is good or bad. Buyers have no way to tell them apart. A good car is worth €15,000 to the buyer. A bad car is worth €5,000. If half the cars are good and half bad, a rational buyer calculates the expected value of any random car at €10,000. And that's the maximum they're willing to pay. But at €10,000, who wants to sell? Owners of bad cars are delighted they're getting double what their car is worth. But owners of good cars aren't. Their car is worth $15,000 and they're being offered $10,000. They don't sell. They leave the market. Now the market has only bad cars. Buyers know it and adjust their offer downward. €5,000. But at that price, even some owners of mediocre cars leave. The market shrinks. Average quality drops. Prices drop further. And so on. In the extreme case, the market disappears entirely. Good cars never sell. The only ones left are lemons. Akerlof called this adverse selection, the mechanism by which bad products drive good ones out of the market. It's Gresham's law applied to information. Bad money drives out good. Lemons drive out good cars. Economists distinguish 2 types of asymmetric information problems, depending on when they manifest. Adverse selection occurs before the transaction. It's hidden information about one party's characteristics. The car is a lemon, but the buyer doesn't know. The insurance applicant has a problematic medical history, but the insurer doesn't know. Moral hazard occurs after the transaction. It's hidden action about one party's behavior. Once you have comprehensive insurance, you drive less carefully. Once an employee has a permanent contract, they work with less urgency. Once a bank knows it's too big to fail, it takes bigger risks. Adverse selection is a problem of who you are before signing. Moral hazard is a problem of what you do after signing. Both erode trust. And without trust, markets don't function. One of the most devastating examples of adverse selection occurs in health insurance markets. Imagine an insurer offering health insurance at an average price. Healthy people think the price is too high for them, they rarely visit the doctor. Many decide not to insure. People with health problems, on the other hand, know they'll need medical care. For them, the price is a bargain. They sign up. Now the insurer has a pool of insured with a higher proportion of sick people. Costs rise. The insurer raises premiums. The healthier remaining people leave. Costs rise further. Premiums rise further. The healthiest leave. It's a spiral. Economists call it the insurance death spiral. In the extreme, only people with serious problems remain, premiums are astronomical, and the market collapses. This is exactly the reason many countries have mandatory health insurance. Not for ideological reasons. For arithmetic. If everyone is required to be insured, healthy people subsidize sick ones, and the system stays stable. Mandates solve adverse selection. But the market doesn't sit idle. It has developed mechanisms to fight asymmetric information. The first is called signaling. The informed party sends a costly signal to demonstrate their quality. In 1973, Michael Spence, who would share the Nobel with Akerlof, published an article on signaling in the labor market. His argument was provocative. Why do people go to university? The obvious answer is, to learn. But Spence suggested another possibility. Perhaps the university degree isn't so much proof of what you know as a signal of what you are. Of your ability to take on challenges. Of your discipline. Of your intelligence. Companies can't directly observe a candidate's productivity before hiring them. So they use the degree as a proxy. Not because the degree guarantees you know something useful, but because obtaining it requires qualities that are hard to fake: perseverance, learning ability, conformity to norms. It's a costly signal. For years and a considerable investment. But precisely because it's costly, it's credible. If getting a degree were easy, it wouldn't signal anything. The second mechanism is screening. The uninformed party designs a menu of options that reveals the hidden information. Insurance companies do this constantly. They offer policies with low premiums and high deductibles, and policies with high premiums and low deductibles. Low-risk clients tend to choose the high deductible because they know they probably won't need it. High-risk clients choose the low deductible because they know they probably will. The menu design reveals information the client doesn't want to reveal directly. There's a special case of asymmetric information that deserves its own attention. It's called the principal-agent problem. It occurs when one person, the principal, hires another, the agent, to do something on their behalf. But the principal can't perfectly observe what the agent does. A company's shareholders are the principal. The executives are the agents. Shareholders want to maximize the company's value. But executives may have other goals: higher salaries, more power, less risk, a nicer office. And since shareholders can't monitor every decision, executives have room to pursue their own interests. The classic solution is to align incentives. Stock options, performance bonuses, results-based contracts. All attempt to make what's good for the agent also good for the principal. But recent economic history shows how hard it is to design these incentives correctly. Before the 2008 financial crisis, banker bonuses were based on short-term profits. Bankers had incentives to take enormous risks. If the bet paid off, they collected million-dollar bonuses. If it went wrong, the losses fell on the bank, the shareholders, and ultimately the taxpayers. Too big to fail became the ultimate form of moral hazard. Asymmetric information isn't only fought with regulation. The market itself has invented ingenious mechanisms. Warranties. If a manufacturer offers a 5-year warranty, it's signaling confidence in its product quality. A lemon manufacturer wouldn't offer that warranty because honoring it would be too costly. Reviews. Platforms like eBay, Amazon, and TripAdvisor have created reputation systems that enormously reduce information asymmetry. Before buying, you can read the experiences of hundreds of previous buyers. Certifications. A diamond certified by the Gemological Institute of America is worth more than an uncertified one, because the certificate reduces the buyer's uncertainty. Brands. A well-known brand is a form of accumulated reputation. You buy a brand you know because its track record gives you information about expected quality. The brand is a signal. All these mechanisms have something in common: they transform private information into public information. They make visible what was hidden. And in doing so, they allow markets that would otherwise collapse to keep functioning. Asymmetric information isn't a problem affecting only used cars. It affects some of the most important markets in life. The healthcare market is riddled with information asymmetry. The doctor knows more than the patient. The pharmaceutical company knows more than the regulator. The patient knows more than the insurer. These asymmetries are the reason healthcare doesn't function like a conventional free market, and why health regulation is so complex. The labor market is full of signals and screens. Degrees, resumes, interviews, probation periods. All are mechanisms to reduce uncertainty about whether a candidate will be productive. And often, these filters are imperfect, costly, and sometimes unfair. The financial market runs on asymmetric information. Company executives know more than investors. Insiders know more than the public. Insider trading laws exist precisely because informational asymmetry, without regulation, destroys confidence in markets. Information is power. And the unequal distribution of information is one of the deepest sources of inequality in a market economy. 3 ideas to take away from this episode. First, asymmetric information occurs when one party in a transaction knows more than the other. Akerlof showed this can destroy entire markets. Good products withdraw because the average price is too low for them. Only lemons remain. Second, adverse selection occurs before the contract. It's a problem of hidden characteristics. Moral hazard occurs after. It's a problem of hidden actions. Both erode trust and require corrective mechanisms. Third, the market has developed tools to fight asymmetric information. Signaling, screening, warranties, reviews, certifications, brands. All transform private information into public information. But none is perfect, which is why regulation remains necessary in critical markets like health, labor, and finance. We've built a model of how rational people and firms make decisions. But the last episode of this season brings a twist. People aren't rational. Not in the way classical economics assumed. They anchor to the first number they see. They fear losses more than they value gains. They're swayed by inertia. And they can be nudged toward decisions they otherwise wouldn't make. Next time we'll talk about behavioral economics. About Kahneman, Tversky, and Thaler. And about why you buy what you buy. That's next time.